Kota Bharu. It isn't a city that immediately jumps out at you. It doesn't beg for your attention like Kuala Lumpur or Georgetown in Penang. It doesn't roll off the tongue like Malacca. No, Kota Bharu moves to a quieter rhythm. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this place is suspended in time, where the streets hum with the sound of the azan, and life feels as if it hasn't changed for generations. It's a city often overlooked by travelers, a short rest stop on the way to and from the Perhentian Islands. But that's where the beauty lies. Kota Bharu doesn't try to sell you a postcard version of itself. Here, it feels like time bends in unexpected ways. Spend more than a day here, and you'll see the cracks in the facade, glimpses of a city on the edge of transformation, where the future is slowly creeping in, and the old ways of life, while still fiercely present, are holding on just a little bit tighter. A place where tradition, religion, and culture intermingle, and where change is coming, whether the city is ready or not. A decaying mall stands like a monument to a different era, its once grand facade now crumbling, a stark reminder that nothing here is static. It's a city of contrasts, vibrant life on one side, slow decay on the other. Kota Bharu, where tradition runs deep and time seems to fold in on itself. It's another city of contradictions, a place where religion and culture meet modern restlessness, where tradition pulls you back even as the future tugs insistently forward. For travelers, the first impression is not one of grandeur or a city defined by a fast-paced, cosmopolitan life. The buildings are mature, frayed around the edges, skin wrinkled from the relentless heat of the tropical sun. Some lived in, some not. Some, even in the heart of the city, seem to have been claimed by nature. The city center feels like a checkerboard of forgotten concrete structures slowly becoming wildlife sanctuaries. Abandoned by the people who once called them home, eagerly claimed by birds and nurturing the seeds they carry. Across the street, though, the scene changes. Siti Khadijah Market is the beating heart at the center of city trade, a place where tradition and commerce collide. It's named after the Prophet's wife, and it's a fitting name. Here, it's the women who hold the reins, running the stalls with the kind of no-nonsense authority that comes from countless years of experience. The market is a festival for the senses. Piles, sometimes towering stacks, of fresh herbs, fruits and vegetables, nuts and spices, meats and fresh catch, all competing for your attention from every direction, the air thick with their scent. There are, of course, upper floors with mazes of textiles, personal goods, and almost any of the wares needed to survive. This isn't just food, it's heritage. This is where life happens, raw, unpolished, and unapologetically Kelantanese Malaysian. You might feel like you've wandered into a place where time is unwinding, where the city is not so much decaying as it is returning to the earth. But that's only half the story. Kota Bharu may not be hot on the tourist trail, but it's a city that demands your attention. It's a place where old stalls still sell handmade crafts while the young seem to dream of something faster, something bigger. It's a city that's waiting to see what comes next, waiting to see if it can hold on to what it is while still moving forward. This is a city in flux, a place caught between worlds, and one that, in its own mysterious way, is as alive as any other. There's something about Kota Bharu that pulls you in. Maybe it's the way the old and new exist side by side in uneasy harmony. Maybe it's her alleyways teeming with murals that could tell the whole story of Malaysian identity. So impressive is the street art. Public works projects are underway to improve these alleys underfoot. Whether it's for safety, to encourage access, or to frame the aesthetic, it will certainly highlight their vivid and colorful storytelling. The artwork here might eclipse that of any other Malaysian city. It's just undiscovered. Yet. It's almost as if they know what's coming, and somehow know the seductive marketing power of this beauty alone, drawing in the curious wanderers to marvel. Then, when the sun starts to sink low in the sky, something happens. The city begins to wake up. The call to prayer echoes through the air, resonating off the concrete walls, while the streets light up with a different kind of energy. At the Kelantan River Walkway, this is one of the 4 spots where the action kicks off in the evening as the city starts to exhale. There's a rhythm to it, the vendors arriving with their makeshift stalls, gas canisters clanging against the metal frames, plastic chairs being set out in rows. The air cools as the river reflects the fading light of day, and the city's appetite, restless and full of energy, begins to take over. During the day, it's a city that could almost be mistaken for forgotten. At night, it's anything but. A few blocks from the river, at Laman, Sejahtera, Taman, Hijau, the humble nasi berlauk, simple rice, traditionally served in banana leaf, topped with fragrant curry stews and bits of fried fish, beef, or chicken. Each bite is comforting, familiar. This isn't fusion cuisine or something tailor-made for tourists. This is food for the people. Food that's part of the fabric of life here, passed down, held close. The food stalls emerge like clockwork, dotting the streets, setting up in markets and walkways that just hours before seemed to be barely holding on to life. There's something magic in that transition, the way Kota Bharu morphs at dusk. If you stay long enough, you'll see that the true pulse of this city is in its markets, and it's here, at night, where the food tells the real stories. As the night deepens, the city hums with activity. Hidden between the old buildings, a few more blocks into the city, at Taman Padang Garong, more food stalls spring up, lighting the night with the glow of grills, portable lamps, and overhead string lights. They are the beacons that call the hungry to assemble. Grilled fish, sizzling satay, murtabak, and freshly fried chicken fill the air. Here, it's as if the day's heat and weariness have melted away, leaving behind only the simple pleasures of good food and company. It's in these spaces that you'll catch glimpses of Kota Bharu at its most alive, families gathering, friends laughing, vendors skillfully working their stations with the efficiency of years in the trade. By the time you reach Dataran Bandaraya Square, the city feels like it's fully transformed. The sights, smells, and sounds of food dazzle. On these streets, you'll find the real food, unpretentious and full of flavor. Among countless others that seduce the senses, you'll find nasi kerabu, that vivid blue rice dish that's dyed with butterfly pea flowers, a visual pop of color as much as a culinary tradition, paired with rich blends of herbs, shredded coconut, and a choice of grilled meats. It's a dish that embodies the richness of local flavors. It's a dish that tells you everything you need to know about the local palate. Bold, surprisingly complex. Every bite tells a story of a culture that's steeped in Malay heritage, but with its own unmistakable twist. The food here is a statement, one that tells you everything you need to know about the people of Kota Bharu. Some of Kota Bharu is a city clinging to the past, some of it is just waiting. The old concrete buildings that line the streets feel like remnants of a different time, as if they've been forgotten by the forward march needed to stay relevant. And maybe they have. For all its seeming isolation, that's about to change. There's a massive rail infrastructure project underway, a high-speed rail that will connect the 2 coasts, cutting through the hills and jungles, bringing the 4 reaches of Malaysia closer together. When it's complete, Kota Bharu will no longer feel like a forgotten corner of the peninsula, a place at the end of the road. It'll be connected, integrated, part of something larger. And what happens then? What will it look like when the trains arrive? Will the city hold on to its relentless sense of tradition, or will it give way to the demands of a faster, more connected world? No one here seems quite sure. This isn't a city that tries to impress you with glittering towers or a postcard-perfect skyline. It's not the flashiest place you'll ever visit, and for now, it's certainly not the easiest. It's rough around the edges, and sometimes it feels like it's barely hanging on. But that's where the charm is. It's real in a way that most places aren't. You don't come here for the polish. You come here to find the real stories, the ones that aren't told in guidebooks or with top 10 lists for selfie hunters. It's a city of contrasts, the old and the new, tradition and change, isolation and connection. It's a place that's waiting for its moment, holding on to its identity even as the future comes barreling toward it. And in the meantime, life here carries on just like it always has. So stay a little longer. Wander the streets as the sun sets. Taste the food that's been passed down through generations, and listen to the city as it shifts beneath your feet. As the night falls, Kota Bharu waits, a city on the edge of something new. This place might be quiet now, but soon enough it's going to be the center of something much bigger. The question is, what will it become?